Durant. Oh! A jawbreaker! Goes by Bullock. Oh! Drops the sledgehammer!
Good bucket.
Kobe Bryant on a rack attack. A piece of it. Wade. Wade going right.
Giannis Antetokounmpo over Chris Middleton.
It's a physical game. Vicious slam in the face of Kawhi Leonard.
Explosion, the finish.
Down to three, down to two. It's a three. Good! Good! He got it! James Harden, a flamethrower!
This guy's unbelievable. He is so fun to watch.
He goes by Matt. He is a sports writer on Back Sports page. Matt, how's it going, man?
Good. How about yourself? Thank you for having me today.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm doing well. I'm assuming Brian as well is doing all right as well. So, Matt, I know you want to do a little plug for your podcast. Go ahead and do that real quick.
Yeah, for sure. So me and my friend Daniel Rios, we run the Basketball Maestros podcast. We talk all things basketball. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify. New episodes go up every Friday.
All right, awesome. Spotify as well and Apple Podcasts. Go check them out as well as Cut the Nets. Yeah, that's awesome. Matt, what else do you cover? What team do you cover?
For Back Sports page, I cover the Brooklyn Nets, but personally as a fan, I am a Laker fan.
You cover the Brooklyn Nets. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, we've definitely had our fair share of toying with them on this podcast as Brian is the creator of the name Cut the Nets. Knicks run New York apparently. So, but yeah, appreciate it. Speaking of the Lakers, the Western Conference seeds 5 through 8 are insane. I mean, if we look at the standings right now on NBA, seeds 5 through 8 have an equal losing record of 38 losses between the Warriors, Pelicans, Lakers, and the Clippers. That is nuts. I mean, and all the rest of the regular season games are happening this week. Brian, who do you think out of the top 4 teams, who do you think is going to be the 5th seed in that?
It's so close. If Paul George was healthy, I'd say it's the Clippers, and it's not really close, but they don't have Paul George. And then there's just breaking news in the NBA today that alludes to my point. I think it's the Golden State Warriors.
I think it's the Warriors.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we know they're 9-30 on the road. It's been brutal, and stuff. They still have Steph Curry, one of the greatest point guards of all time, one of the best shooters the best shooter of all time. And I don't know if you heard Jeremy and Matt, but Andrew Wiggins looks like he's going to be back on Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow night against the Thunder. The rumor was his personal leave of absence was because his wife was having an affair and had another kid with another person that Andrew Wiggins is raising. That's not true at all. Apparently, it was his dad. His dad is not doing too well. But Andrew Wiggins, no confirmation if he's going to play, but he is finally going to be in attendance, which should mean he's playing soon if he doesn't play tomorrow. And obviously, he's been a key anchor for the Warriors, both offensively and defensively. Gary Payton the second's been healthy in his second stint with the Warriors, just improving that bench, improving them defensively. I think if Wiggins is back, it would be safe to say that the Warriors could not only be the 5 seed, but potentially go in a playoff run. I like the Warriors being the 5th seed in the West.
Yeah, Wiggins is definitely their X factor. I consider Wiggins to be sort of like, in terms of defense, a Draymond Green of old back in the 2017, 2018 Warriors heyday era. He has to be on the court. I mean, without Wiggins, their defense is just completely falters. It's not going to be on the hands of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green anymore. It's got to be their defense and bench. That's kind of what kind of constitutes a well-oiled machine for a basketball team. And if Wiggins is able to stay on the court, speaking of that rumor, like what who started that? Like,
I saw it on Twitter, and because I had no clue, because usually personal reasons is kind of I don't know, like a death in the family or something going on, where you're out for a day or two. But it was a while, so I started investigating this, and I was like, but obviously I wouldn't listen to someone if just one person said it, but the fact that it was a lot of people saying it kind of started to believe it. But it was just confirmed that that's not what happened. So I was also seeing it on TikTok, but back to my point about the Warriors being so bad on the road. Wiggins hasn't played since February 13th, and that's kind of when the Warriors have been on that stretch of bad road games. So clearly they're missing Wiggins. Like Jeremy said, he is an anchor, and just the fact that even last year on that finals run, it was Wiggins stepping up on both sides of the court. That was really that X factor, because although Klay has looked back to his old form, he's not the defender he once was, the elite defender he once was. So the Wiggins is really going to have to step up, and wing depth is important, especially in a tough Western Conference where there's guys like Sabonis, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Kevin Durant, LeBron, a lot of teams with solid wing players in this Western Conference playoffs. So Wiggins will definitely help contribute on both sides of the court once your turns.
Yeah. Matt, you got anything to say on that?
Yeah, I'd probably agree. I think just in terms of schedule, the Warriors definitely have what it takes to win out the final 3 games. They're at home against OKC. They go on the road against Sacramento. Who knows? Maybe they rest some guys. And then you finish the season out against Portland, which should be a win. But then again, the Blazers just knocked off the Timberwolves the other day. So never know, but I think the Warriors definitely have what it takes to get up to that 5th seed.
It's going to be kind of tough. I mean, they do play the Thunder, who aren't – you shouldn't really, think that it's a cakewalk. They aren't to be messed with. The Thunder are a play-in team. I consider them to be – they are the 10th seed right now, and the Mavericks are kind of trailing behind as the 11th seed, which we'll get to in a bit. But I don't really see the Thunder losing that 10th spot. I feel like the Mavericks are basically just giving up on this season. And, playing the Thunder and this week for the Warriors as a regular season team, you got to be able to watch out for them. The J-Dub and J-Will combo, Josh Giddey, Shea, they also got, Isaiah Joe being that 3-point shooter, that lockdown 3-point shooter. So, expect them to be up for a challenge for that too. And also the Kings. The Kings are one of the top 3 teams in the Western Conference. They're locked in as the 3 seed. So, I know with Wiggins, he does provide definitely some boost on the Warriors team defensive side and slightly offensive side as well, because it was All-Star nod last season. So maybe it might be different when it comes to matchups and coaching rotations and stuff. But it's going to be a bit of a tough schedule. I can see them probably going either 2-1 or 1-2, because the Trailblazers I don't really have any issue with. They're kind of shutting down Damian Lillard for the rest of the season. So, I mean, the only person I can probably think of that's probably a threat is Jeremy Grant or Anthony Simons.
Yeah. But, Matt, you posed a good point that I want to hop back to, where you said with the Kings, could they rest their players and stuff. So right now they're the 3 seed, but they're only 2 games behind the Grizzlies, the 2nd seed. So would you kind of just which way would you tackle this? Would you try to win out, try to get the 2 seed, so the only really home conference or home court advantage you would lose to in that sense is Denver if you go up against them? Or would you kind of just pump the brakes, relax, kind of just rest your players and get ready for the playoffs?
I mean, you can really go either way, honestly. I mean, you got the Pelicans, which is tough. The Mavs are just the Mavericks at this point. You go the Warriors and the Nuggets. That's also not an easy schedule by any means, but I can see it go either way. I think it's just kind of in terms of matchup. If you want to play Golden State in the first round, if you stay 3, or you take a gamble and play like, assuming the Lakers or the Pelicans stay put, play one of those two teams if you move up. So I can see either way. Personally, you can probably try and gun for the second seed. Memphis just got blown out by Chicago the other day. So who knows? Maybe there's still a chance. They're a young team. It's not like they have to rest a bunch of veterans. So I think if you're the Kings, you probably try at least a couple games, like play the next two, see where you go from there, how many games you're back. And then I think it's just kind of a game by game basis if you're the Kings.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, I wouldn't try to go all out and play your best players to try to get that like chance of getting the second seed over the Grizzlies. But maybe the first game, see where that goes. And if the Grizzlies do hold on, then just sort of call it quits and settle with a third seed, because you do get home court advantage for the first round. And yeah, guaranteed home court advantage. So
Yeah, I agree. And like, it's not like you don't like get home games at all. Like, you'll still have at least 2 home games. So
yeah, for sure. What about the 6th seed? Who do you think is a lock on that one?
I'm biased, and I'm going to say the Lakers.
You know what? That's not really a biased fact. I mean, a biased take. I think I honestly, I might actually go with that.
To be honest with you, I'm going to Los Angeles team. I just don't know which one.
I mean, we play Utah tomorrow. That has to be a must win. But then again, I see all the Laker fans looking forward to that Wednesday game against the Clippers, which is going to be hoping to be for the 6th seed or the 5th seed. I just saw that Walker Kessler's out for the year due to concussion, so that's a huge blow for the Jazz. But then again, they're kind of out of the running. But, I mean, I'm not exactly looking over the Jazz game because the Jazz had our number earlier in the year. But on the road in Utah is not an easy place to play, so we'll see. But I'm hoping we can take care of the Jazz in that Wednesday game against the Clippers. You know, Russ's grand return against the Lakers will be a pretty epic game.
Yeah, that'll be nice. I think to your point, when the Jazz might be a harder team to defeat if you're the Lakers, since they have a lot of new players in exchange for old players that played in the earlier season. LeBron's back, AD's playing out of his mind. You got really good defensive anchors, and Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley. It's kind of like a better version of J.R. Smith. You got Austin Reeves, AR-15. I don't condone guns, but that's what I mean. He's born in Arkansas. We actually researched this, me, Brian, and other people on the podcast, early episodes. We looked up where he lives, and he lives in Arkansas, or he was born in Arkansas. And I was like, oh, he probably doesn't carry. It's called AR-15. But I do see them having a better chance in beating the Utah Jazz, especially this time going around. The Jazz really have no hope besides maybe trying to make an impression on playoff teams that are trying to find the best case scenario for their seeding. So the Lakers just thumped the Rockets the last game.
Yeah.
They thumped them, and the Rockets had their number this year until this game yesterday. The Rockets had a winning record. I mean, Jalen Green mentioned that we don't care about the Rockets; they're nothing. Not the Rockets, sorry. Jalen Green mentioned we don't care about the Lakers; they're nothing. We have their number, and of course, that was a different story last night as the Lakers beat them by I think at least 20 points.
Yeah.
So I feel like the Lakers have finally come into their own. Better late than never. And while I don't really see them taking the 5th seed, I kind of agree with your take. The 6th seed is probably the better option. If the Clippers had Paul George in the regular season, then I probably would have maybe flip-flopped them. I probably would have had the Clippers taking the 6th seed and the Lakers taking the play-in if Paul George was healthy. Now the 8th seed is kind of interesting because the Timberwolves, they're about a couple games back. They're not really too far from the 8th seed, and they could actually make an impression too. Do you see the Pelicans probably faltering that 8 seed and going into the lower seeded play-in teams?
I mean, probably, but like, just because I think Minnesota has a better roster than New Orleans, but like, both I can make the case for being question marks lately. I mean, the Pelicans are without Zion, but like Brandon Ingram's been balling lately. They still got C.J. McCollum, Jose Alvarado. Obviously, they don't have that superstar in Zion, but like it's the play-in anyway. Like, so you never know. And like the Timberwolves haven't looked that great either. I mean, I don't know. And this, if you guys saw the game yesterday against the Trailblazers, but it's the biggest up. I'm trying to like phrase it the right way of like how I remembered it, but I think it was like the biggest upset in NBA history based off like the spread. Because if that makes sense, I'll rephrase it. But
Yeah.
basically, the Trailblazers were 19.5-point underdogs going into that game against the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves lost 107-105. So like.
Damn.
That's kind of I get it. It technically only goes in the scoreboard as one loss, but that's that's just like a game like you have to win and stuff. And it was at home too, so like I just really no excuses there. I mean either way, I don't really. It's gonna be interesting. Who gets that 8 seed between the Pelicans and the Timberwolves? I guess like if I had to pick, I'd say the Timberwolves, just because like I said, I think their roster is better. And Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, guys like Rudy Gobert, I think they just have more upside. But
Let's put the Clippers as a 7 seed. Theoretically, do you see the Clippers and Timberwolves kind of playing a play-in tournament and seeing who wins on that account?
Yeah, I don't know. I think like we're kind of underestimating the Clippers a little bit. I still think they're like it's Kawhi Leonard. He's that dude. Like I just think that they'll still get past the play-in no matter who they go up against in those like. I think they get in. Russell Westbrook is finally balling. I mean, what was it? What was the game he had? Like, didn't he have like 33 points or something a few games ago?
Nearly, he was like 10 for 15 from the field and was perfect from 3.
Yeah, 5 for 5 from 3.
Yeah, like
unlike Westbrook at all. I don't think I've even seen him play like that since ever. Like even during his prime years, he was horrible from deep all throughout his career. So that to see that is just like Russell West no longer brick for that game. I mean.
Yeah, and then even Saturday against the Pelicans, he shot 50% from 3. So like, if he can play like that, like even without Paul George, I still think the Clippers can make some noise in the playoffs. I don't know how far they'd go, just because the West is so stacked, but
yeah,
I think they could pretty much play a competitive series with anyone if they're playing like that.
Let's talk about Brian's Knicks as they clinched the playoffs for the first time since 2021.
Yes, sir. It's feels great to be back in the playoffs. I've missed it. It's just like I felt like with my team with the Knicks, it's something that I missed. I mean, generally, sports have been pretty nice to me. The Knicks are my only team that hasn't won a championship. Still waiting for that. It's not coming this year, but Knicks are great. They blew out the Cavs without Julius Randle. So as he sprained an ankle, I have an article about that coming out tomorrow. Thanks to Jeremy for editing.
Welcome.
Yeah. So Knicks are doing good. Jalen Brunson appreciation as always. He's been balling out, the anchor of this team. But I also want to show love to the role players today. Quentin Grimes, in the game against the Wizards that got us to clinch, he moved to small forward for that game because usually starts at shooting guard. But RJ Barrett was out with an illness. He had 27 points. Emmanuel quickly had 22 starting at shooting guard, filling in for Barrett. And then Obi Toppin had a season-high 21 points starting against the Wizards. So I get it. They're the Wizards. They're not that good. But you know what? I'll take a win's a win in the NBA. Got us to clinch.
Win's a win.
It was more than just a normal win for us. Corey Kispert still does own the Knicks, though. He will be a Knick killer for the rest of his career. I think he had like 29 or 39 or something. He had a game. But no, I'm happy. I think it's pretty much a lock that we play Cleveland at this point. Knicks are once again in the 4th, 5th seed matchup. When they lost to the Hawks in 2021, they were the 4th seed, got upset. Now they're a 5th seed, hoping to do that upset. And I'm actually more excited. I don't know if it's the optimism in me, but I'm actually more excited for this Knicks Cavs matchup than most Knicks fans probably would, considering how good and young the Cavaliers are, and that they have Donovan Mitchell, who should be a Knick. But you know what? We went 3-1 against the Cavaliers this year, and we blew them out in 2 of those games. So I'm kind of excited for it. One of those games we held them to under 90 points actually, so I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good series. It could go either way. I think it goes to at least 6 games either way. I'm excited for the energy that's going to be at the playoff Garden. I can't wait for that. I'm hoping Randall comes back though, because he's out. As moody as he can be, he is probably our best or second best player. We need him. He sprained that left ankle against the Heat on Wednesday. But the thing is like he's not out necessarily for 2 weeks. He's being reevaluated in 2 weeks.
Is he day-to-day?
And that's right around when the playoffs start. But then apparently, like, no matter what, he's playing game 1, which is good. But then it's like poses the question of like, oh, how much is that ankle going to impact him? Especially against a Evan Mobley, who's kind of like a great player and like a physical player. So who knows if Randall can kind of keep up with that. But Brian, I'm excited. Everything's here.
I have a question on that. So compare the first round of the Knicks playing the Hawks to the first round of the Knicks playing the Cavs. Who has the upper edge this time? Did you predict the Knicks to take on the Hawks and advance in 2021? Did you predict that? Did you think that they were?
I mean, I don't remember if I said I think that the Knicks were gonna win. No, you know what? I didn't, because I knew the Knicks were kind of playoff frauds, because they kind of just got there off of like so much heart defensively, and just like that 2021 Knicks team wasn't really that good, for being honest. Like they kind of just got there off of being so great defensively and just physical and fighting for all those extra plays. Like they weren't that good of shooting outside of Randall. Like RJ was, I guess, like their second best scorer, but like he still wasn't even like doing anything too crazy. I was super mad about it going to 5 games though. That was awful. It was just watching Trae Young either pull up from anywhere and like hush our crowd, or just we finally close in on him and then he would just throw it over Mitchell Robinson's head and lob it to Clint Capella. So I guess I'm upset of how the series went, but I'm not shocked we lost. Like I saw on Twitter, they were saying like if this year's Knicks team went up against 2021's Knicks team, who would win? And I'm like, why is this even a debate? This year's Knicks team is sweeping that team. Because now you have Jalen Brunson, you have more scoring. Like I just think that this year's team is so much better. They have so much more availability at the bench. I love Josh Hart. Might even be my favorite Knick. I love him. I think this year's team sweeps 2021's Knicks team.
Okay. All right. Well, so my question to you is, do you think that they'll be able to advance with the Cavs given their regular season record against them?
I think the Knicks can advance, but I wouldn't say just because they had their number in the regular season, because especially in the NBA, like everyone treats the regular season differently than the playoffs. Like obviously, like people make the jokes about the NBA, like, oh, people don't try like 2 sides of the ball; they just like focus all their energy on offense, but I think it's going to be more of a two-way game you're going to see in the playoffs. And like the Cavaliers are like young, they have the in terms of playoff experience, the Cavaliers have way more than that we do. Just in Donovan Mitchell, pretty much alone. Although Jalen Brunson was in the Western Conference Finals last year, so I guess there's that. But
Yeah, he was
so
pretty
I
much,
think the Knicks
like
what
carving up the Jazz. He was carving up the Jazz
he
without
was.
Luka in the first round. So, I think he does have that edge and might be able to make a case for the Knicks advancing to the second round over the Cavs. But I don't know. They have a lot of firepower, a ton. However, Mitchell. I mean, yeah, there's he's been in the playoffs every single year. But the thing is about Mitchell is that he's a streaky shooter. He'll go off for 50 points and be efficient on the floor one game, and then the next game, I don't know, just takes ill-advised shots and barely hits the rim or hits the backboard most of the time, and he shoots like 32% from the field on 25 shots.
Yeah, I mean, just my question is who's even gonna guard him? Because Brunson, Brunson and Barrett are already the two worst players defensively, and then on the next team, Brunson's probably gonna have his struggles with Darius Garland because he's another good player that I feel like doesn't get talked about. It's when you think of the Cavs, you talk about Mitchell, Mobley, Jared Allen, but Darius Garland is good in his own right. He's going to be giving Brunson problems defensively. I'm guessing you put Quentin Grimes on Mitchell, but because Grimes is a better defender than Barrett, but I don't know how much Grimes will be able to control him. And then
who's native?
Yeah, and then who's the small forward for Cleveland? Okoro doesn't start, right?
I believe it's Karras.
Karis LeVert, I believe.
Oh, LeVert, yeah. No, yeah. LeVert is also probably going to have a good job on RJ. Unless RJ can resort back to his 2021 season last year where he was a great defender. But like I said, I think this is going to be a great series. I think it's going to go either way in 6 or 7 games. But I'm excited for it. I know the Garden's going to be packed and loud, unlike Quicken Loans Arena with their 9 fans and the Machine Gun Kelly.
Matt, for context, we were joking around that the Cleveland Cavaliers only have 9 fans. It's Andy, our very own BSP writer, Andy Dietrich, and a Machine Gun Kelly plus 7 other fans. So the rest of the fans, because there was a sold out crowd almost every night during LeBron's era.
Yeah.
But when LeBron left, they all left. So
shout out Patrick Yen as well. He's one of those 7.
That's right, Patrick Yen. So 10 players, or sorry, 10, not players, 10 audience members. Because Patrick Yen has audience. He goes and watches the practices. So, yeah, not the games, just the practices. So actually 9 and then 1 person watching the practices. That's the way it goes. I honestly, I think Brian, you're right. It could go either way. I mean, I'm leaning towards the Cavs because I've seen what the Knicks have been doing under Coach Tibbs. But this year for the Cavs, I mean, yeah, they've had their slumps here and there early in the season. But for JB Bickerstaff to coach a really young team and even deal Kevin Love away and put him on waivers and them to still be good and to have hardly any sort of leadership or veteran leadership. I mean, that's solid. I mean, I guess the only veteran leadership you have is probably Mitchell. Mitchell is probably one of the oldest players on the team. They're such a young team, and they have so much talent. And it'll be a dogfight for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean the oldest player on their team, and he doesn't even play, but it's Robin Lopez or Danny Green.
Yeah, I mean Danny Green. He has, of course, NBA Finals experience, and I guess that could be sort of interesting to sort of play around when maybe insert him in like some matchups when it comes to like inbound passes or outbound passes for threes or whatever. But I haven't really seen Danny Green play much on the team as of late, so we'll see. There's been a lot of times where coaches do insert players that haven't played a lot in playoff time, and then they just sort of they just hit like a spark to where they just just get a lot of points and out of nowhere. So it'll be interesting to see for sure in the first round.
Yeah, I think worst case scenario for the Knicks, I just see the series going 6. I think both of these teams match up pretty well. I'm interested to see how the Knicks match up because you mentioned Jalen Brunson's not the greatest defender in the world, so you can't necessarily hide him just because the Cavs just play such a tall lineup. So I'm interested to see how the defensive scheme works out, and then I'm also curious to see the playoff experience, the lack thereof for the Cavs, because as Jeremy said, they basically really only have Donovan Mitchell as the guy that's been to the playoffs consistently and getting consistent playing time. So I'm interested to see how it stacks up. I do have the Cavs probably winning this, but I think it's definitely not going to be an easy series for the Cavs. And I'm interested to see if playoff experience is like a big factor for them in this year's playoffs.
For the Knicks, their player with probably the most playoff tenure is probably Derrick Rose, and he's not even playing.
Let's switch to a team that we have pretty much been disappointed with all throughout, especially with their acquisition in February. That tons of NBA analysts and betting companies were betting on. Kyrie getting traded to the Mavericks was probably the worst decision that Mark Cuban has ever made. Probably the worst decision, by and large. This is worse than not re-signing Tyson Chandler. This is also worse than trading away Steve Nash. I would say this is the worst thing that Mark Cuban's ever done in his tenure as the Mavericks owner. We don't even mention the GM because I forgot the GM's name. So
it's like some Nike CEO, I think.
Yeah, that isn't even talked about. It's all about Mark Cuban. So, as we mentioned earlier, the Mavericks are on life support. They have probably 3 games left to play in the NBA. Yeah, 3 games left. They've played a total of 79 games. And they are 5 games below 500, and they are about a game below the OKC Thunder for the 10th seed to play in the tournament. I don't know, Matt. Let's see your take. Like, what can you make of this complete fall from grace, this free falling state that the Dallas Mavericks are having right now?
Yeah, man, it has not been pretty. On my last episode on my podcast with Rob, we talked about the Dallas Mavericks, and personally, when this trade first went through, I saw it working, but I did not think it would be this bad. Believe they were the 6th seed prior to the trade. Their defense obviously wasn't going to be that great, but I think they'd still be able to pick up wins along the way. And I think those 2 losses to Charlotte really dug the hole in for them. And they lost to the Hawks the other night. They're 1-7 in their last 8. Shout out Maxi Kleber for that shot against the Lakers. But, yeah, it's not been pretty, man. I'm curious to see what happens because we all know how Kyrie is. Walking is always on the table with him.
Dude, I'm sure he's going to go test free agency. I mean, I've seen some reports from NBA Central that Kyrie plans to test free agency in the offseason.
Yeah, I think he definitely will. I mean, the Mavs took a gamble just because they said when they acquired him, they weren't talking extension. They were going to work it out in the offseason. And that's obviously such a huge gamble with a guy like Kyrie who's so unpredictable. So, I mean, it could very well get worse. You can let Kyrie walk for nothing. But I kind of don't know what the Mavs would do. You either bite the bullet and keep him around, or you just let him walk for nothing, and you're left with a weak free agency class and having to surround a team with probably a really disgruntled Luka Doncic, who's probably very much on the brink of asking out. I think if next year they don't do anything significant, I could very well see Luka asking out, and Mark Cuban's going to have a fun time doing that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not going to be like Dirk, because Dirk has had this like loyalty in the NBA. Plus, back then, it was very customary for franchise players to stay on their team no matter how bad they were doing. There were talks of them asking for a trade, or maybe like inkling, but no, not like this, where trading franchise players left and right happens every single season because the attention spans are low, and people just want to see their team do well like that instantly, and that's sort of permeated into the players and how they perceive things. So there's this one game I want to talk about specifically that kind of made me realize like that the Dallas Mavericks just kind of fumble the bag. So this is a game against the Heat. This happened on April 1st. Tim Hardaway Jr., Luka Doncic, and Kyrie Irving both were the only three players with double-digit points. But Kyrie Irving had the lowest score, which was 23 points. Doncic had 42 points. Hardaway had 31 points. They all basically combined for like 95% of the scoring. And you still lose. I mean, you don't even give minutes to Christian Wood, who had 13 minutes and 8 points. Josh Green had played 22 minutes, scored 1 rebound. That's it. That's it. Maxi Kleber, 3-point specialist. Didn't really have a great game. Triple single, 5, 3, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and points. And Reggie Bullock, the streaky 3-point small forward who's 6'5" and probably should be a shooting guard. Just not enough distribution of the basketball between Luka Doncic and Kyrie with the role players. And even with that point spread, the Mavericks lost by 7 points against the Heat. And if you look at the Heat, they had 5 players in double-digit points, and nearly 6 with Gabe Vincent with 9 points. Butler, of course, led the way with 35 points. Cody Zeller had 20 points.
Jesus.
Y'all remember Cody Zeller?
The legend.
The legend,
Hornets
Cody
legend.
Zeller. Charlotte Hornets legend. Like, oh my God. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. The Mavericks don't really have a distributor, or they don't have sort of team play basketball, and of course their defense is completely gutted too. So it'll be interesting to see how they tackle the offseason. They just basically gave away Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie for nothing. So Kyrie's going to walk for sure. It's just tragic, honestly. It really is. And another fumble by Mark Cuban, I think is the worst thing he's ever done to this team.
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot with that. I mean, I agree that I guess it was the wrong decision by Cuban, but I think it's a wrong decision for a different reason. Like, you kind of took the approach that they should have never traded for Kyrie. Yes, Kyrie has all the baggage. It wasn't necessarily a smart investment, considering, 1, we don't know if he's going to re-sign. 2, seems like he's determined to test free agency. 3, obviously, they're as of right now not in the playoffs. If he leaves, then you gave away Finney-Smith and Dinwiddie for nothing. But as of now, the Mavericks they just said they want to re-sign Kyrie, and all that. And but Kyrie, the Mavericks collapse isn't necessarily on Kyrie. I think
it's on the defense and distribution.
Kyrie's been doing everything he was brought in to do. He's shooting 51% from the field. He's distributing the ball too. He's averaging like just under 6 points, but basically it's like 5.9, so I consider it 6. Like 6 assists a game. He's averaging. He can score too. He's averaging 26.7. I think it's more on Jason Kidd. I think, like Rob talked about an episode or two ago, it's the rotation between the bench unit and like how they started Christian Wood on the bench at the beginning of the season. I think it's on the defense that they gave away Finney Smith and Dinwiddie, who are Dinwiddie's like a good defender, but Finney Smith's a great defender, and now they don't really have that wing depth. And I think it's also a little bit on Luka. I mean, this is kind of just the worst attitude I've ever seen from him. He's second in the league in technical fouls. He's as good as he is, he's not necessarily in the best of shape, which goes back to hurting Dallas's defense. They had to get a star to help Luka, and they did that. But it's more, I just think, on the package, because doing a 2-for-1, especially when the two are great defenders and you need defense, didn't work out the best. And if they can re-sign Kyrie and then go in free agency or the draft and get wing defenders, then this team can be the team that they wanted to be this season when they got Kyrie back in February.
I don't know about that. I'm just not sure. Because if you re-sign Kyrie, that's going to be at least a 4-year deal with regards to maybe $30 million a year. At least.
Yeah, you're going to have zero money. Plus,
zero money. You're going to go over the luxury tax.
Class.
Which I know Mark Cuban does not want to do. Dallas is a small market team as well. They have Luka on that long contract. So I just sort of discovered something. The fact that they got Kyrie is sort of having too many offensive cooks in the kitchen, if you kind of get my my drift. Luka already handles the ball, does the offense, does all of that. Kyrie is kind of the same in terms of offense with Luka with regards to shot creation and ball handling, but not with facilitation. So Kyrie needs the ball in his hands. If Kyrie's going to be on a team, he needs to either be with if you're going to have a duo star player, then that other star has to be able to be playing well off the ball. And that's why Kevin Durant was so good with Kyrie. That's why he played so well. I mean, given the limited time that they played all together with James Harden. But Kyrie and Durant weren't bad together. They were actually pretty great offensively. And when you insert Kyrie into the Mavericks and you got the defense and, of course, the facilitation with Spencer Dinwiddie, you're just adding another scorer who needs the ball in his hands, which already Luka has that. Luka already has the ball in his hands. There's one basketball, and they can't have two of them at the same time. So I think I wrote a season preview way back in October where I wanted the Mavericks to acquire Kyrie, but not gut their defense or not try to figure out a way to keep either Dinwiddie or Dorian Finney-Smith. They couldn't do that, obviously, later in the season. So and then when I saw that happen, I was like, yeah, this is not gonna work out really well. So Kyrie's guaranteed the lead for sure. And if he does re-sign, the Mavericks are probably gonna sign old wing players to the minimum and not really have a sustainable bench or role player image. It's just not going to be like that. It's just going to be the same thing, if not worse, next year.
Yeah, I just don't know where you go if you're the Mavs. I mean, it's like I feel like you just kind of have to keep Kyrie around, right? I mean, what else are you going to do? There's nobody else out there to fill that void, right?
Wait, what do you mean? You're gonna keep Kyrie? Is that what you do?
If
with the Mavs?
If you're the Mavs, I mean, do you just let him walk for nothing? You don't give him a full year to just see?
He's gonna want a full contract. That's what I'm saying. And if the Dallas Mavericks do go forward to doing that, they're gonna completely gut their future again. This is gonna prolong a mistake that Cuban already made and make it even worse. Worse than it already is. So, yeah, there's no best case scenario in this situation,
Yeah.
but the best case scenario is it's going to be bad at first, but it's going to get better later on, is letting Kyrie walk and having that cap space to sign players who are willing to play well around Luka, especially quality all-stars. Because they have enough cap space when Kyrie walks. They're taking on that contract, and that contract's over, Kyrie can go sign somewhere else. Let whatever team deal with him. But the Mavericks can use that cap space to sign quality veterans or quality all-star shooters and defenders, because that's what they need in the offseason. They can't have another on-ball player that needs the ball in his hands. As talented as Kyrie is, that's not what the Mavericks need.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, there really is no right choice. I think they kind of just dug this hole themselves. I think, I really do think like this. I don't think they're going to make the play, and they haven't shown me that they are going to make it just by the way they're playing right now. And I think if next year really doesn't go well, I think you can. I honestly kind of want to see Luka ask out, because I'm curious to see what a Luka trade package looks like. That'd be insane.
That'll be insane. That'll have like the whole 5 second-round picks, 4 first-rounders, and then like the player that the team wants in exchange for Luka. Oh shit! Did the fire drill go off?
Yeah, my fire alarm just went off.
Oh, dude.
Got some hot takes going off.
Yeah, sure. You want to leave for a second and come back?
Yeah, that would probably be best.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be back.
All right, man.
Wow.
Shoot. Yeah. Well. Oh, we could just take him off. Like not. Whatever. That's fine. We'll continue on. I'll probably leave that in, but then cut this part out.
That's pretty funny.
But I was like, that's not the fire alarm. Dude. Since you're here and you're a Lakers fan, I mean, what do you anticipate the Lakers' playoff future for this year? Given that they've finally been able to come together as a team this late in the season.
I mean, first off, I'll just say it's been a long time coming. The constant roster flips year by year. I know
it's LeBron. I mean, that's what he does.
Yeah, but Laker fans have been crying on Twitter just for continuity, competent role players. We finally got it, and we've looked great. And I mean, there's been some hiccups along the road. I mean, that Mavs debacle still haunts me. We lost to the Rockets. We got blown out by the Bulls at home. But overall, I cannot be mad about this team. I'm interested to see how everything shakes out. I mean, I think we have a really good chance at getting into that 6th spot. But worst case scenario, I think 7th seed's probably worst case. But I mean, if we finish the 6th seed, playing Phoenix in that first round would be very interesting. I mean, I see a lot of Laker fans not being scared of Phoenix.
Dude,
personally, I am, but
Mount Rushmore of players: KD, Chris Paul, LeBron.
that'd be
It's like
insane.
the banana boat, man. Like honestly, the banana boat of the playoffs. You know.
And I mean, it would be a great rematch, from that post bubble season. But I just don't know how we fare against Phoenix. I could argue that we're probably deeper than Phoenix. I think our bench is better,
For sure.
but
I agree.
I just don't know. Just having Booker and KD there kind of scares me. But I mean, if we go 7 and play Sacramento, I know a lot of people are kind of like, oh, it's Sacramento, they're a young team. But man, that home court in Sacramento is going to be insane. Like 14 years or 16 years, whatever it was, not making it.
They're gonna like bring back the 2002 debacle. They're
Yeah.
gonna bring that back 21 years in the making.
I mean, again, I love the playoff environment. I mean, if we play Sacramento, that Sacramento crowd's going to be insane. Same with Phoenix. When we played them in the playoffs, even though it was like still kind of COVID, Phoenix still had a really good home crowd, which, I mean, it's what you live for. But I think I just got to be open-minded. I think this team, knock on wood, everybody stays healthy the final 4 games. We can make some noise. Don't know if I think it's probably a long shot. We probably make it out of the West, but I mean, a full year with this roster, bring everybody back, I think you probably are top 5 seed probably next year, I would say, depending how everything shakes out. But overall, I'm really excited for this team now and for the future.
Dude, yeah. I mean, when LeBron, I don't mean to say LeBron actually, because I always like implement like the whole like the GM thing, where he like rearranges every team based on what team he's on. Of course, I know it's probably Rob Pelinka. Is it Rob Pelinka?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Rob Pelinka. Does makes all the GM moves, but I do see a lot of pictures of LeBron and Rob talking, a lot of media pictures. But when the whole roster move completely just overhauled their team, I was totally for it. I was like, the Lakers are definitely playoff contenders now for sure. I mean, they not because of Russell Westbrook leaving, but I mean, I guess that may have benefited them too as well, because now they have LeBron as like the primary facilitator, and they have D'Angelo Russell who can actually shoot the ball from 3. Given that hopefully that Russell isn't injured, I do think he had like a foot injury and is trying to like rest that foot. But I got to give some credit to like Jared Vanderbilt. I mean, he's just
I love him
on the floor. I've met him before. He's actually really cool.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, he's a Houston native. Back Sports page gave me credentials to go to this like charity event in Houston, from where I'm from, and it was Jared Vanderbilt's charity event that he hosts in Houston.
Oh, that's sick.
Got to meet the guy. Did about 3 to 4 minutes of interviewing him, and this is when he was on the Utah Jazz, and so I didn't really know he was going to get traded to Lakers, and it was really cool to see that he's finally got some playoff experience under his belt. Besides the Timberwolves, which I don't really necessarily count. I feel like his sort of official debut as like a high rotation player, high minutes player on the Lakers is more of a preferred debut for Vanderbilt, because he's just he goes after loose balls, he gets rebounds, he's so athletic on the floor. I mean, he's exactly what the Lakers needed when that trade happened.
Yeah, I mean, and plus he's under contract for I think $3 million next year. So I mean, yeah, you're getting an absolute bargain. And obviously, D'Lo has some injury concerns. He's listed as probable for the game in Utah, which is a good sign. I was a little concerned about him leaving that Houston game, but overall, Malik Beasley kind of scares me a little bit. He's kind of just been not making many of his shots so far, but I think just on paper, you do that trade 10 times out of 10. You move off Westbrook, who wasn't a great fit, and you just raise your ceilings so much higher, and that's all you can ask for. Just give LeBron a competent team and just see what happens.
Yeah, well, usually I would transition with Brian, but I guess he has like the loud rules. I want to go ahead and transition. Who's not a competent team? The Houston Rockets. So I'm from Houston, and so my team is the Rockets. I've been kind of following them exclusively with basketball since like 2014, and of course I learned more about the history and stuff. And but of course, the Houston Rockets, they have been 3 years removed from the James Harden era, and they have been a complete dumpster fire of a team. Oh my God, 1960. I was hoping that they would win at least 25 games this year. I'm upset that I'm wrong, but hey, that's the NBA. I've written countless articles on how Steven Silas should probably start looking for a new job in the future. I've seen reports from NBA Central and from Rockets insiders that they're looking for coaches like Ime Udoka or Kenny Atkinson. I prefer Ime Udoka since he took the Celtics to the finals last year. I don't really care about his off the court issues with the sexual consent thing. I don't really care. As long as you are a coach and you do really well, hire him. Please hire him. Kenny Atkinson did really well with the Brooklyn Nets during their D'Angelo Russell years, which, I mean, that was, like, surprising. D'Angelo Russell was an all-star. I was like, well, great. I mean, I think Kenny Atkinson would do really well with, like, young and up-and-coming rebuilding players. Also, James Harden has been inkling a return to Houston as of reports. Hey, I know it's like far-fetched. I know, okay? I see Rob shaking his head, Andy shaking his head, and Brian always just moans. Like, he just groans, all right? I understand. But Harden, if Philly doesn't do well with their playoff run this year, Harden, he becomes a free agent, and, you know, he might return to Houston. Of course, he's not going to be the same Harden as per usual. Back in the day when he was, the shooting guard and point guard, was scoring 30-plus points a game. He's a facilitator now, and I think that he'd be a great fit for the Rockets. Jalen Green would be much better. The center, whether it be if the Rockets had the first pick, they would choose Wemby. I did go actually into that where if the Rockets chose the first pick, Wemby, they would probably have to trade Şengün, which I think would be okay, even though Şengün's had a great season this year. He's good trade value, and I would probably trade him for a lot of good quality veterans because that's what the Rockets need. They've also, recently, there's been reports of Jaylen Brown growing a little bit irate with Celtics because of his current role. And Rockets may be pursuing him in the offseason. So that's also a great take there because, of course, Jaylen Brown, he's not really a free agent this next offseason. However, in 2024, he'll pretty much be like a one-year rental because that's when he becomes an unrestricted free agent. I'm not sure if it's a good idea for the Rockets to go after him because of that reason as a whole. Because, I mean, why would you want to keep a one-year rental in Jaylen Brown? But seeing like a lineup of James Harden, Jalen Green, Jaylen Brown, Jabari Smith Jr., and Victor Wembanyama would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with the Rockets is I think you do need a better coach because just watching that game yesterday, there was just multiple times where just after a made basket, the Lakers would just quickly outlet it and get an open basket on the other end. So I think this Rockets team just needs direction and leadership. And I think Steven Silas necessarily isn't that. So, I mean, I think this direction, this offseason, you get a new coach, you get some veterans in here to lead the young guys. I don't necessarily know how to feel about James Harden. I mean, I feel like he's at the stage where he wants to win. Does Houston necessarily provide that if you go there? Who knows? But, I mean, Jaylen Brown's also another interesting option. But I think if you want to pursue him or at least have a chance at getting him, I think probably James Harden would have to be there to kind of just be that, I guess, eye candy, for lack of a better word, to like just at least have him be open to the idea of coming to Houston. And if you're able to get the first round pick, obviously that's a home run. So I think next year you got to kind of clear out some stuff and probably head in a higher direction, I would think.
Yeah, the Rockets have a lot of options. You mentioned how Silas isn't a good coach. Did you read a tweet or like a video of Silas reportedly breaking into tears?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's real.
Let me show you a video of Josh Christopher. I don't want to tell you it. I'm just going to show it to you. But was apparently mocking Coach Steven Silas during a game against the Grizzlies. And see Silas clapping right there. So, that is pretty much the situation with the Rockets. Like, the Rockets players are mocking their own coach. Like, if you don't have that sort of grasp on them, that sort of, it just kind of seems like he's a pushover.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
In that way. And there's no sort of like transparency or admitting that you aren't doing well as a coach, because there were times where Silas was blaming on the players. Like he hasn't really blamed it on himself in a way. Every game that they've lost, that they've brutally lost, he's for the most part, blaming it on his players. And you can clearly see that with Josh Christopher not really enjoying Steven Silas, mocking him with the whole clapping. And they're losing. They're down by 12 against the Grizzlies, and I think the Grizzlies blow them out towards the later end of the game. But that definitely needs to be fixed and addressed, because as a basketball coach, you can't be made fun of by your own players. Like, that's just not okay. I mean, if you have that, then you literally don't have any leverage or influence, or a good influence on them. You don't. And that kind of correlates to a pretty shitty team, just for lack of a better word. So, but yeah, I'm not sure when Brian's going to get back, but
This final week of the season is going to be nuts. There's going to be a lot of movement. Interested to see how it all pans out. I would love for the Lakers to be out of the play-in. That's my goal.
Yeah. For some reason, I didn't like the Lakers team in the beginning of the regular season, but now I do. Now I feel
they're awful.
They have something to fight for, and there's legitimacy. And I don't know. I'm kind of just tired of the Warriors. I'm just tired of them. I like that they came back and won last year, but now it's like, yeah, they're still a good team, and they've had some issues with injuries, and Draymond Green, of course, being as spasmodic as he is. But I think it's the Warriors' time to sort of okay, your era is done, throw in the towel, start gearing up for the next era in your lifetime. I'm not really on Steph Curry, because Steph Curry is great, love him, but I think what the Lakers have is special. I think that's there's something there, definitely, especially with their young players.
Yeah, it's just up to Rob Pelinka to keep it together.
Yeah. What do you think of Darvin Ham, by the way?
I've kind of given him some slack because we had an awful roster, but we had some very questionable rotations with this team. I mean, inserting Austin Reeves to starting lineup was long overdue. DMPing Rui Hachimura against the Bulls was just unacceptable. To play Lonnie Walker over him was kind of insane in my eyes. Plays Dennis Schroeder a lot more than he needs to be. And yeah, I forget what game. I think it was the Pelicans game where we smoked them. But in that third quarter, I think Dennis played 10 straight minutes just on the court, and we almost blew that game when he was handling our offense. But I hope he improves. I mean, he's a rookie coach, and we have him for 3 more years after this, so we'll see. But he's had a lot of very questionable decisions as a coach, but hopefully he improves as a coach. That's all I can ask for. I'm still holding a little bit of optimism.
All right, yeah. Well, let's hope. Also, we have the Nuggets, Grizzlies, and Kings. The Grizzlies are, of course, kind of out of their off-the-court scandals.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten past it. Luckily, John Morant got a slap on the wrist, so they're now holding on to that second seed. And back in the regular season previews, I picked the Grizzlies as my favorite to reach the finals in the Western Conference, so I still think that could happen. Let's just hope that Steven Adams is healthy and able to be on the court as soon as possible, because he's a game changer for sure when it comes to the defense and rim protection. So that with Steven Adams, I definitely think they can make a case to beat the Nuggets, the Kings, and very likely other teams that are probably going to be a threat, which I think is possibly the Suns and the Lakers, actually, with Anthony Davis. And so, yeah.
Do you believe in the Nuggets? Even though they're the first seed?
I don't.
How far do you think they make it?
Second round.
Okay. So, yeah, the Grizzlies making it out?
I have the Grizzlies making it out. The Nuggets have always been, yes, okay, you can argue the fact that Jamal Murray was out and Michael Porter Jr. was out. Okay, yes, you can argue the fact that they were not healthy in the seasons prior, But in the 2020 bubble, they made it to the Western Conference Finals and lost. But they came back 3-1 from both teams against the first and second round. So I don't know. Like, when I saw them in the playoffs, Jokic was exploited heavily with his defensive liabilities. And I really think teams are just going to go attack that. Yeah, they have Aaron Gordon as sort of to cover for him, but I really just don't think that the Nuggets have it. I mean, yeah, they've been spectacular this regular season, but that's every season that they've had Jokic. I mean, he's been MVP, for 2 years in a row, probably likely a third MVP coming along the way if they don't choose Joel Embiid, because of the fact that, Joel Embiid apparently deserves his flowers. But I'll look at stats and, who's like the most valuable player on the court. Like, if Jokic doesn't play, then the team needs him. Like, he's just a facilitator. He pretty much handles the ball on basically every possession. There is defensive issues there, but that's kind of what will lead to their downfall in the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how to gauge the Nuggets. I think obviously Jokic on defense is going to get exploited, and those non-Jokic minutes I'm interested in. I mean, they got Thomas Bryant at the deadline. He just barely seen the court at all, and
they
obviously
gave away Bones Highland, which is like,
that didn't make any sense.
You
got no one in return. You just got picks, second rounders.
Yeah. And Bones Highland's balling out in LA on the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. How you view the Suns? Are you buying into the hype?
I think that they are the 2004 Lakers.
Okay.
In terms of
good comparison.
In terms of veteran leadership, ring chasing, and injury-prone players. So you got Chris Paul, who's Gary Payton. You got Devin Booker, who's Kobe Bryant. You got Karl Malone, who's Kevin Durant, I believe. And then you got Shaq, who's DeAndre Ayton. Of course, obviously they're not like similar comparatively, but the way that they play and the fact that it's kind of similar in terms of age, especially with Chris Paul and Gary Payton.
Yeah.
And during his current state in his career at 38 years old. Kevin Durant is kind of like Karl Malone, but Malone during that time, like his 1 year with the Lakers was pretty much a shit show. So Durant can still play the way he's been playing, for God knows how long, and since 2007 he's been a baller like ever since then, even after the Achilles tear. So I do still think that, but I kind of equate Kevin Durant's injury proneness to Karl Malone's lack of productivity.
Okay.
At that stage of his career. With Shaq and DeAndre Ayton, I equate the chemistry issues, because Ayton didn't want to be with the Suns. But the Suns matched their offer because they were like, well, we can't get anybody else right now, so we might as well just sign you to a multi-year deal. So with Shaq's current state of emotion, I think I equate that with Ayton. Of course, Shaq is a monster, complete specimen on the floor during that time. And then Ayton's, pretty relatively good for, good centerpiece. I don't really think he should have gone first overall, but he fits well with the Suns. But yeah, that's kind of how I equate the Suns and 04 Lakers. I don't really see them beating the Eastern Conference team in the finals if they make the finals, but I probably see them making the Western Conference Finals at best.
Okay, yeah, I would say probably Western Conference Finals. Even if they do make it to the finals, I just don't see them beating a team like the Bucks or the Celtics, honestly.
Yeah, the Bucks are on a whole nother level. They're just unstoppable. I think they're back for blood. Like they want that ring again. They want that ring, and they weren't able to get it last season because they had a huge dogfight against the Celtics, and no, they're a much better team. They've got Chris Middleton's back. Drew Holiday is having his best season of his career, and of course you got Giannis, who's Giannis. Bobby Portis is a good six man. Freaking what's his face? Brooke Lopez is a defensive player of the year candidate.
Yeah, what a dog.
What the hell? Like that's so weird. During his age and his stage in his career, like he never really had that stature of defensive capability at this age because he's pretty much a stretch big. So yeah, that's kind of how I see things in the Suns, and of course the Bucks are probably going to be the favorites. There is a BSP roundtable that I contributed. I think you also contributed to it, right? Did you or no?
I have no clue. I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So Rob's gonna have an article out for BSP roundtable for NBA Finalists. Who's gonna make it? Who's gonna win?
Oh, okay.
I have the Grizzlies, but because of the Philadelphia 76ers, because of the fact that they're the third seed and the other Philly sports teams have made it to their final round in each sports, respectively. You got the Eagles and the Phillies. I see the 76ers finding some way to make it to the finals and losing in crushing fashion.
Oof.
To complete the trifecta. It's going to be beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. It's the Philly way.
Yeah. No, it really is. I mean, they're going to be so happy that James Harden finally makes another finals appearance in like over 10 years. And they're going to say like, "Oh, this is our year." No, it's not. Like the Grizzlies are going to be there. Steven Adams is going to come back. He's going to give Joel Embiid fits. James Harden's going to run out of gas for sure. John Morant's going to just mop the floor with him. Also, you got Desmond Bane, who's going to go against who? Like what? Tyrese Maxey? Like no. Like it's going to be a freaking cakewalk for the Grizzlies. The only issue I probably have is probably Embiid, but he's going to be the only productive person on the field.
How do you feel about Dylan Brooks? I've seen a lot of polarizing opinions.
He's like the second coming of Rasheed Wallace. I love him. Like I love basketball players who have emotion and like are in the playoffs. You had DeMarcus Cousins, but he's really never made a playoff appearance. You know, I'm not really counting the Warriors playoff appearance because he wasn't really, he wasn't in his prime at the time. So, but Rasheed Wallace, who was the technical foul king back in the day, I see that in Dylan Brooks. I see it so hard, like second coming of Rasheed Wallace all the way, and I'm all about it.
Man, I just see some of his like pregame fits, and they honestly just I don't know why he wears that kind of stuff. It's so weird.
He's weird. I love it. Like, I just love weird players. Like
Yeah.
I like players who dress weird, like Kyle Kuzma. I like players who Kyle Kuzma is such a weird guy when it comes to apparel, but I love it. You know, he just wears like weird, like Digimon / I don't know, like alien looking clothing. It's fucking weird, but I love it.
I think Brian's about to come back right now.
He is?
Yeah, he's texting in the Slack.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of want to end with him. I'm gonna keep all this though. It's just been fun with
good content.
Good content. Yeah, man. How'd you get into basketball? If you don't mind me asking.
As a kid, I'd say around like probably when I was like 5 or 6. My lifelong friend by now, he played basketball and he kind of got me into it. He showed me NBA stuff. He was a Laker fan. I kind of just hopped onto it and ended up playing basketball as a kid all the way up to high school. Played JV up to my junior year and then kind of called it. And yeah, just been watching basketball for basically my whole life. So been through it thick and thin.
When did you decide you wanted to like cover basketball and the sport?
Say around like senior year in high school, I kind of had to make a choice and just figure out what I wanted to do in college, just like in terms of majors and all that. And I figured that writing was kind of my strong suit. I mean, English, I was kind of always, I don't know if good at's the right term, but I was always saw it at English, and I just decided, no, I'll just try to see where writing takes me. And then, yeah, I've been just trying to find opportunities to write about basketball, and found this Back Sports page internship, and here we are. And it's been a lot of fun writing about NBA stuff, even though I'm not writing about the Lakers. It's still fun to write about just basketball in general.
Writing about the Nets is probably the most fun team that
Yeah.
probably aren't really, it's not really your team, It's,
Yeah.
it's just.
Yeah, ironically, I kind of made when I first joined, I kind of made the choice to pick the Nets just because, Kyrie, KD are there, so I'll just enjoy KD and Kyrie, and then that kind of just all went to the wayside. So,
Brian, are you on fire?
I'm not on fire. They're like, it's my school's like
What the
stupid
fuck
like
happened?
it's my school's stupid like fire alarm checks that they do like at random, where they set off the fire alarm in like every different building, and I didn't know how long it was going to take, so I just went to like my friend's house in a different dorm, and then once theirs went off, I was like, let me see if you guys are still recording. You guys were, so I was like, oh, let me quickly hop back on. So,
Right.
because like they're annoying about it too, like security. Like they're like you go down to the sidewalk and they're like literally like go on the other side, like cross the street or like go to the grass. I'm like, why do you have to be like? It's a drill. Like
they want to do it randomly because they want to make it seem like it's they want to make it seem like it's real.
Yeah,
Naj,
but like
what's up,
one of
man?
my
What's up,
like
man?
it's always like at like awful time for students too. Like one of my like I overheard this one girl talking like she was sleeping. There's like one of my friends, she just got out of the shower. Like, yeah, oh my god, it's such a bad look.
Oh yeah, it's the worst time, especially when you're in the shower. Naj, what's up, man? I see you have your own setup there. Nice little snow globe. I like it.
Oh, what's going on, y'all?
Yeah, good, man. Good. We were been talking basketball for about an hour, but we can sort of get your take on what we talked about. So
Okay.
we've talked about pretty much the Knicks clinching the playoffs, but yeah. Am I glitching again?
Yeah, you were.
I feel like I wasn't glitching at all when you were gone, Brian. And now since you joined, you just bring this like this cloud, this dark cloud of like.
I guess from the transition from New York to Texas, something gets lost there.
Oh yeah, because we have huge beef. The fact that like you are my son.
I didn't hear what you just said. You just sounded like a robot. It sounded like Wally.
Wait, you are telling Wally right now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Hello.
Oh.
Hold on a second. Let me just.
Did you guys, while I was gone, talk about the Fred VanVleet 2020 game, or no?
No.
Well, I thought that was like impressive. For all that you don't know, yesterday against the Charlotte Hornets, Fred VanVleet had a 20-point, 20-assist game, along with 3 steals, which I thought was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I saw that with like the NBA's social media. They like post all the final scores. I'm like, damn, he really had 20 assists.
Yeah, that was impressive. Yeah, but Naj, we pretty much just talked about like the also like the Western Conference, like how seeds 5 through 8 are close, and like don't really know what's gonna like happen there. Either like interchangeable,
Yeah.
and stuff. But I guess if you want to talk about your Heat, go ahead.
Yeah, man. I mean, they're the 7th seed. They're probably a lock there, or they could get higher.
Yeah. I think where we are right now, with the additions of Kevin Love as well as Zeller, I'm not sure we have some depth, but like we all throughout the season, it's been injuries after injuries. So I don't know what to expect from the playoffs, like honestly right now. But also to go back on Brian's point about the Western Conference, 5 through 8, it's like up in the air. I've seen the standings. I think they're around like 41, 38, something like that right now. like pretty much everybody.
They all have like 38 wins. Sorry, they all have 38 losses, each of the 4 teams.
Yeah, and I think the most intriguing team out of that bunch probably is the Los Angeles Lakers because of what they had to overcome. And like now, I think nobody want to face them more than likely. Like if I'm like that second or whichever seed they end up with, it's gonna be trouble. Like if they can avoid Denver potentially in the first round, or they don't have to do the play-in, I think it could be trouble for anybody that they face.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Lakers are. I mean, Matt mentioned earlier, like they've all come together, for sure. They definitely all have come together at the most inopportune time, especially towards the end of the regular season. But hey, better late than never. You got Anthony Davis is balling out now. He's back to his MVP form that he was back to before he got injured early in the season. I still call him Glass, but
Oh yeah, he is glass. That's for sure.
I'm still waiting on like him just falling down unexpectedly when he tries to go for a layup or he tries to do like a little fadeaway in the paint and just falls awkwardly. And I'm like, he's probably gonna get injured. He's probably like injured for like a sprained ankle or something that he broke that didn't even like appear that he broke it. So
Damn, Jeremy roots for injuries.
I don't root for injuries. I just know it's gonna happen because it's Anthony Davis.
Fair enough.
It happened in the Minnesota game. He tweaked his ankle, and I thought, "Oh, season's over. Here we go."
Season's over. Here we go. yeah. But
when doesn't he tweak his ankle?
He came back and scored 38 points.
Yeah, he was a dog after that. Scored like 18 in the fourth, I want to say. He was crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's not the talent aspect of Anthony Davis. It's his availability that everybody is worried about, especially come playoff time. But even though they were in the bubble, we'll see what it's like with them actually in the playoffs. Like aside from that, like this will be the first actual times they, are tested. So we'll see.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because that what they call it, the Mickey Mouse ring.
Mickey Mouse bubble, yeah, Mickey Mouse bubble. Mickey Mouse bubble where people couldn't actually watch the game in person.
Yeah, no fans.
No fans.
Well, actually, didn't Lou Will bring in a few fans?
So did Daniel House. We had an episode back in like a month ago where me, Brian, Rob, and Andy talked about the bubble a little bit and how like Jimmy Butler was actually doing it right because Rachel Nichols was.
Oh my god, bro!
Oh yeah, that was all you. I had nothing to do with that. That was all you.
That was so funny,
we
bro.
were making a quote from an interview, and then Jerry just goes, Rachel Nichols. And Rob's like, here we go again, the magic word.
That's the third time I mentioned Rachel Nichols. Oh my god.
The bubble. Man. That felt like
Jimmy Butler was smart. Like Miami Heat legend. Jimmy Butler, he was smart.
Opened the door drenched in sweat.
I just wish they brought the championship, but it would have been asterisk beside it anyway because it was the bubble. But I think they had a good time regardless. So
they definitely had a good time regardless.
Well, if nobody else did, Jimmy Butler did. Let's just say that.
No, I mean LeBron was complaining how
Gomez to Rachel Nichols.
What's up?
He went from Selena Gomez to Rachel Nichols, Jimmy Butler.
Is that like a downgrade or an upgrade, or is it about the same?
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I love Selena Gomez, so I view it as a downgrade. But Rachel Nichols is very talented as well.
Very talented as well.
Listen, I want to just completely say she's good looking. She also is a good analyst.
She's a good analyst. Okay.
She's good at her job.
She's very good at her job. She has to just make sure that she says the right things at the right time, and also the wrong things at the right time too, without being recorded. So
I had a question for those that may have teams in the playoffs and those that may be on the rebuilding stage.
So everyone. I was like, you must have ruled me out of this.
But I had a question, like outside of your teams, your respective teams that you root for, like who in the potential playoffs this year could you see like pulling an upset or potentially, forcing game 7?
For the East, and I'm like not just saying this as a biased Knicks fan, but I really think the only upset we could see is Knicks Cavs in the first round. I could maybe even see that team beating like the 76ers or something, but nothing too crazy. But like in the East, like anywhere. Or sorry, in the West, like I could see any upset possible. Like if the Lakers are like a 7 seed, say they stay there at the 7 seed, I could see them taking down the Grizzlies. I could see a healthy Warriors with Andrew Wiggins back, Gary Payton back, Klay Thompson looking like his former self. I could see the Warriors going to the finals. I think the West is very wide open. So I think to answer your question, any upset can happen. In the East, at least in the first round, I only really see Knicks Cavs as a potential upset.
I think I want to point this out. Besides the Knicks in the 8th seed during the 99 lockout season, the Houston Rockets have been the only team as the 6th seed to make the finals in 94. Sorry, in 95. 95. So
wait, let's see where the Heat when they made the finals.
I believe they were the 5th seed or 4th seed in the 2024.
Which year? Are you talking about the bubble?
Most recent one, the bubble one.
The bubble doesn't count. Doesn't
yeah. I will.
Sorry,
agree
Matt.
with
I don't
It counts for me. It counts for me.
It would have been a bittersweet championship if we did win.
Yeah, but
we did have some injuries, but no excuses, no more victories. But I think we were like a lower seed, higher seed. Let me say, excuse me. But yeah, it was a higher seed.
I think this is probably the closest that any NBA season has been to consider teams in the lower seedings to reach the finals and win. Since the 95 Rockets. I'm not going to count the lockout season because, lockout seasons, yes, they do count, but they have less credibility compared to 82 regular seasons, So, with the Houston Rockets, they were struggling after their NBA Finals hangover, but they got Clyde Drexler and swept the finals against the was it the Magic, I believe, or was it the Magic or the Knicks? Which team was it?
And when?
Yeah, I was about to say
94, 95.
It was the Knicks.
95?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that back up.
Sorry, man.
I wasn't alive, but thanks.
So, yeah, okay, they didn't sweep the Knicks. They won in 7 games, thanks to John Stark's horrible night.
Once again, thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, if John Starks didn't suck, or Patrick Ewing just went for a dunk instead of being soft and going for a little layup, the Knicks would have been a finals champion. But nah, it's like back in black and white when they won.
I gotta one up my co-host, man. I gotta one up you, man.
Hey, you can't do it now with current NBA, so you gotta go back
to
before I was
Can I
even born.
finish my fact here? The Houston Rockets were the last team in a regular 82-game season to make the finals and win as a lower seed. And now, a 6th seed is the lowest seed to make the playoffs. Because back then it was the 7th and 8th seed. So now even play-in teams this season have probably a really good chance of going all the way to the finals and winning. Based on the current seedings right now. That's what I'm saying. That took 4 or 5 minutes to get across? Y'all suck. But yeah, what are y'all's take on that?
As a Laker fan, I'm probably not as optimistic as everybody else is as a Laker fan. Yeah, we have a pretty solid team, but in terms of making it to the finals and winning it all, I just find that as such a long shot. But maybe we can get to the second round, and I kind of find that to be our ceiling. But I mean, I really like the Pelicans, but without Zion, I don't really view them as dangerous as they could be. But I mean, I guess if you were to pick a lower seed, I think it's just kind of up to the Lakers and the Warriors. Obviously, getting Wiggins back is such a huge help for them, just in terms of the wing and being able to match up with wing players in the West. That'll be such a huge help. But I mean, if I were to put like two teams to at least have somewhat of a chance to go all the way, I'd probably say the Warriors and the Lakers in the West, probably.
Come on, Matthew. You got to have a little bit more confidence in your squad.
Hey, dude. I mean, I kind of feel for him. Like, my home teams, I always think that there's always going to be something wrong. There's something that's going to happen that's going to an injury or, you know, a bad shooting night or a bad offensive or defensive night for a team that, you know, has credibility and the pedigree to make it to the finals and win. Cue my 2018 Rockets. But, you know, I totally feel for Matt in that. I'm not kind of fan that really has, like, I don't know, that kind of feeling. I don't have like the full confidence in saying the Astros are going to win the World Series. Like I was so nervous nearly every single game during the Astros World Series run last year, as well as the Rockets. But I kind of saw it coming because Chris Paul's injury history and James Harden not really being good in the clutch. You know, so I totally get what you're saying, Matt. Yeah. Anything else we gotta cover here?
No, I don't think so. I don't have anything.
All right. Nash, appreciate you for jumping in late for a little bit. Got a nice little good laugh on that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Brian, appreciate the fire drill. That was great. I had a fire drill. He had a fire drill. Come on, halfway through our show.
I already know you're gonna make a meme out of that once this gets edited.
Oh, for sure. I definitely am. I'm gonna go on TikTok and just like edit the shit out of it, and man, I'm gonna do that.
You got a good soundbite though. If you heard the fire alarm.
I did. Yeah. I still have the Emmanuel Quickly TikTok to edit.
Honestly, you can use that soundbite anytime like a hot take in comes. Just play that sound like the fire alarm.
See, I mean, yeah, I could pull it off like a random like sound bar, but yours was so faint that I have to like increase the volume.
Okay.
So I'll have to see. But anyways, that is Cut the Nets episode 15. Thank you guys so much for watching. Matt, where do we see where will we find you on other socials since you're our newest guest?
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is Matthew Valento, and on Instagram is Matthew.Valento as well. Run a podcast, Basketball Maestros. You can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, handles being the Basketball Maestros. And new episodes go live every Friday. And yeah, feel free to check us out.
Awesome. Yeah, I will probably definitely be tuning in to the Rob feature episode. Naj, I know this is your second time, but anything you want to do a plug on?
Yeah, I pretty much have my Twitter attached to the screen right now at NWRVille Biz. That's where you can find me on Twitter.
Awesome. Yeah, he also he had an article come out with the Steelers, right?
Correct, yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So he's in our system for Back Sports page. Of course, you can find Brian and I on this show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Follow Cut the Nets on Twitter as well as YouTube. Subscribe. And yeah, for all of us at Cut the Nets, I'm Jeremy. And that's Brian.
Yeah, that's Brian.
Come on, Brian, be more co-host, man.
Because I thought you always just throw out the names there.
I'm trying to mix it up a little bit. I'm trying to like include you, man. I'm always talking, man. I'm always talking.
Yeah, this is Brian. Twitter's down there. You can find my Instagram, Brian.Ramos0219, and TikTok, BRAMS0219. I don't post there though. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.